Hey guys, this is the Wounded Womb, mind of Lilith, and thank you for joining me today for a quick astrological portrait of Neo and his wife's Crystal's synastry chart. Okay, Neo was born on October 18th, 1979. I don't have his time of birth, but he was supposedly born in Camden, Arkansas, and his wife Crystal was born on September 18th, 1986 in Fort Myers, Florida. So some quick background information, okay? I don't know too much about Neo or his girlfriend, but I do remember, not girlfriend, his wife, but I do remember Neo being married to a woman named Moneta years ago, over a decade ago, and then he asked her to have her tubes tied, and she did that, and then he ended up divorcing her and marrying somebody else and having more children with this person. I don't know if he cheated on Moneta with Crystal, if Neo cheated on Moneta with Crystal, but I also read that Crystal was a sex worker at some point, and that is how he met her. So a couple days ago, and this is now 8 years after Neo and Crystal has gotten married and they have 3 children together, Crystal posts on Instagram that Neo has been cheating on her with prostitutes for 8 years, and he's a narcissist, and she's basically tired of whatever, right? Now, they've broken up before and have gotten back together. And they recently had a vow renewal ceremony that Melody went to a few months ago. They were wearing all red. It was an all red vow renewal ceremony. So from my observation, right, vow renewals can be a red flag for relationships from the outside looking in, okay? Especially a huge, elaborate, semi-wedding style vow renewal. This is something, it reminds me of somebody trying to sell a fantasy. Like, these big weddings remind me of rituals to get women seduced or enamored with or hypnotized by the ritual of the wedding, so that she willingly gives herself over to a life of slavery with her husband. I mean, this is back in the day, okay? So yeah, that's another conversation. But with Neo and his wife, you know, they have some really interesting aspects in their chart that would indicate that their relationship is actually functionally chaotic. It works best when it's off and on. There's an inconsistency. There's a level of freedom, of eccentricity. They both respect each other's individuality and their freedom of expression to an extent. So Neo has Sun in Libra, and Crystal has Sun in Virgo. They're about 30 degrees apart, right? They're born 30 days apart. Neo's moon is in Virgo, and Crystal's moon is in Aries. So now we have a Sun-Moon conjunction between Neo's moon and Crystal's sun. So Crystal has the ability to get Neo out of his shell. She can see him for who he is, no matter how hard he tries to hide himself, right? So Crystal's identity, her very being, and even the way she thinks, it illuminates some of the unconscious or subconscious aspects of Neo's identity as well, that's connected with his mother. She may remind him of his mother to some extent. Not necessarily phenotypically, but her energy, her unconditional love for him, her acceptance of him, something about her reminds him of his mother. This is a really tight, close connection that is, in my opinion, based on trauma bonds. Now, why do I say this? Both Neo and Crystal have a Neptune square moon aspect in their chart, right? So Neo's moon is in Virgo and his Neptune is in Sagittarius. Crystal's moon is in Aries and her Neptune is in Capricorn. Sun square moon aspects typically indicate a relationship with a mother that wasn't strong. It was weird. Something was not consistent about it. The mother may have suffered from mental health issues. The mother may have had drug problems. The mother may have been absent from the child's life. The relationship between the child and the mother may not have been well formed, okay? The square aspect between the moon and Neptune usually indicates issues with femininity, the expression of femininity, or nurturing or caring or love or maternal instinct. The native may have an issue erecting boundaries. They may become too empathetic to their partners or too idealistic about their feelings. They may not know how they feel about anything. Their feelings are likely to be influenced and shaped by the people around them, okay? So they react and respond to situations in the way that they think other people may want them to. This is a huge red flag because sometimes a person with a Neptune square moon aspect can have performative feelings. They may react and respond to a situation in a way that they think someone else wants them to. And this is usually done to manipulate the other person. There's also a risk of projecting your feelings onto somebody else, right? Individuals of Neptune square moon in their chart may believe that someone loves them for reasons that are not true. So this is somebody who may think that the person loves them because they're smart and because they're, a good person, and they just may be a utility for the person. They may be projecting their ideals about unconditional love onto their partner, and their partner may feel the need to play into that role in order to keep getting what they want from that relationship. Unfortunately, fortunately, Neptune goes retrograde every single year. And as of June, Neptune has gone retrograde. And this is when we saw Ariane have her breakdown about Martel, because there's some clarity that happens when Neptune goes retrograde. In other signs, the retrogrades may indicate errors and miscalculations and, delays. Well, with the Neptune retrograde, it actually reverses a lot of the negative aspects of a Neptune direct transit, which may cause a lot of confusion and self-deception. Remember, Crystal is a Virgo. So the opposite sign of Virgo is Pisces. Pisces and Virgos usually have relationships where they're projecting their wants and their needs onto their partner. And they may self-delude themselves and sacrifice themselves into giving to a relationship that is not for their best interest. They're doing it for somebody else or to make somebody else feel good, right? This is one of the reasons why Pisceans and Virgos make excellent sex workers, because they can withstand abuse longer than most other signs besides Cancer, okay? But I'll get into that later. So Neo has Mercury and Venus conjunct Crystal's Venus. So essentially they have the same love language. They speak the same love language. And with Venus and Scorpio, the love language can be a bit taboo. There can be something secretive about it. There are power dynamics around sex. There's issues with money and power and control using sex. Venus and Scorpio individuals, they love money, sex, and power. There's a connection with the three, right? It is difficult for a Venus and Scorpio woman to get sexually aroused by a broke man, okay? Because for her, the money and the power and the sex are interconnected. Neo has this aspect in her chart, and so does Crystal. Like I said, it's not surprising that Crystal was a sex worker back in the day before Neo saved her from the streets. She has no problem exchanging her body for money. A lot of strippers and sex workers have Venus in Scorpio aspects, or there are issues in their relationships associated with sexuality, betrayal, theft of resources, STDs even once in a blue moon. This happens also depending on other aspects in the chart, especially if Mars is in a stressful aspect to Venus. So Venus and Scorpio, this is, this could be somebody who has sexual kinks that involve money, power, and control, right? And if you're a sex worker, there's an exchange of power, right? You're using your body to get something that you want that isn't free, other people's money, right? And the fact that Neo also likes prostitutes is connected. I wouldn't be surprised if both of them indulge together. Now, what do I mean? I think that Neo and Crystal have very similar sexual tastes, okay? I think that, Neo's freak flag is exactly what turns Crystal on. Neo has Uranus conjunct his Venus. This is somebody who likes freaky sex, somebody who has eccentric or unusual or even socially taboo sex. Could be homosexuality, again, a desire for prostitutes. This could be voyeurism, or this is somebody who can't commit to one person. Venus conjunct Uranus, right? Because Neo has Mars square Uranus too. So Neo has Venus conjunct Uranus and Mars square Uranus. It is difficult for him to be faithful to one woman. Venus square Mars, to me, indicates somebody who is sexually aggressive, who is sexually dominating, sexually controlling. The R word may pop up. Someone who uses their masculinity and their virility to control and dominate their partner, right? This is somebody who's impatient with sex. This is somebody who uses sex as a weapon and a tool for domination and to subjugate their partner. This person does not like to hear the word no. This person is also very jealous when it comes to sex. So they may become possessive or jealous of people who they believe are having better sex than them, or they may become jealous of their partner's previous sexual partner. So it's like somebody dating somebody, right? And then they're asking about who you've had sex with in the past, and then they're trying to compete with that person from the past. Like just jealous, aggressive, hyper masculine, hyper vigilant, impatient, controlling, abusive even sex. So Neo's Mars is square Crystal's Venus. For some reason, I think that he treats her like a sexual object. The Mars square Venus aspect is like a sex toy, in my opinion. In a relationship, there's a lot of aggression, there's a lot of fighting, there's a lot of competition and sparring. So initially, I think that was like enticing for them, right? That was a part of the push-pull dynamic. But at some point, somebody gets tired of running and somebody gets tired of chasing, okay, with this Venus square Mars aspect. There's impatience when it comes to sex. There's also selfishness, being demanding, expecting a lot from your partner sexually. This is somebody who expects their partner to be available for them at their beck and call whenever they feel like it. And if they're not, I'm going to do what I want to do to get my needs met, whether you like it or not, whether it was with you or with somebody else. This is Mars square Venus. And then this is also Uranus square Mars, right? This is somebody who does not like to wait. They can have sex anywhere with almost anybody. It doesn't make a difference to them. They can have sex with a hole in the wall. The weirder the sex, the more taboo it is, the better, right? And this is why I believe Neo has a taste for prostitutes, right? I don't think Crystal was delusional enough to believe that she was the first or the last prostitute that Neo would bring into their relationship, right? There were rumors about Jada Pinkett, and I'm going to go on a segue here about Jada Pinkett and her love for other women who were prostitutes as well. And she's also a Virgo with, I think she has Neptune square her ascendant, not her sun. But I'll look into that later. That's not an uncommon thing for many Virgos. Not all Virgos. Some Virgos are very selective, very chaste, very discerning, very patient when it comes to sex. But a lot of Virgos, and people don't give them a reputation for this, they are okay with sex work. They don't see an issue with it. The opposite sign of Virgo is Pisces. That's the 7th house, the house of self-sacrifice. The 5th house from Virgo is Capricorn, which is ruled by Saturn. This is someone who likes to be dominated by their partners, who feel there's a dutiful obligation to their partner, right? There's a burden. There's a responsibility associated with love and relationships. So using your body to get money, right? Exchanging sex for money is a part of that Saturn in the 5th house component to me, because Saturn deals with money, resources, and power even. And the 5th house is a house of sex and romance. So when you have that aspect as a Virgo, it's not surprising that many Virgos get into sex work. And then they would have Mars in the 8th house from their sun, which is the planet of sexuality and control and domination. They have malefics in 2 of the sexual houses. They have Saturn in the 5th, and they have Mars in the 8th house. So again, Virgos would be great sexual healers, and so would Pisces, which is their opposite sign. Okay, so back to Neo and Crystal. This relationship works well because it's consistently inconsistent, right? And there's some sort of trauma bond here because I believe that their backgrounds with their mothers are pretty similar. I don't know much about them, but with both of them having Moon square Neptune aspects in their chart at the very least, I think they have some sort of deep wound associated with their mother, okay? Now, this is a really interesting aspect between these two that could potentially become very explosive. So both Neo and Crystal have a Mars square Pluto double whammy. Neo has Mars in Leo and Crystal has Pluto in Scorpio. Crystal has Mars in Capricorn and Neo has Pluto in Libra. If these two ever get divorced, more than likely it's going to become nasty as hell. If these two people become enemies, at one point they say, okay, I'm done with this situation. Something significant has to happen for these two to break up because, again, as I mentioned before, there are a lot of compatibilities with their sexual interests. They have similar emotional traumas. They have a deep emotional connection in their relationship. So if they break up, it'll be for a really bad reason, right? More than likely. And I don't like, in Neo's chart, I don't like Uranus conjunct Venus square Mars. I do not like this aspect at all. Okay, because that could indicate some nasty surprises when it comes to one's sexuality. Going too far and then not being able to come back, because Mars is a malefic that is squaring Venus, and Uranus is also a malefic too, okay? That's squaring Venus. And Venus is sexuality, so is Mars. Venus is what men desire out of a sexual partner, and Mars is what women usually desire for a sexual partner. The fact that this Venus-Mars-Uranus square is aspecting Crystal's Venus, to me, is a problem. And Pluto is also involved in this. Now, I'm not talking about these two people's chart just to talk about them. There are members of the audience who are listening to this channel with similar aspects in their chart. So this is not just to put Neo on blast. And I'm not trying to do that. I'm trying to be as diplomatic as possible and as sensitive to this situation as possible. But I do not like seeing Pluto, Venus, and Uranus conjunct square Mars. I don't like seeing this aspect in a natal chart or a synastries chart, especially in the sign of Scorpio. Especially in the sign of Scorpio. I don't like seeing this aspect. If Neo is messy and sloppy, he could definitely put his wife in danger with this aspect. If you're dating somebody whose Uranus, Venus, or Mars, or Pluto is square your Venus, or Mars, or Pluto, please make sure that you use protection. And now let's leave it there, okay? So Neo has Chiron in Taurus. A Chiron in Taurus person usually has really deep insecurities about their intrinsic value as it relates to their material value, right? So there's a connection with wanting to feel validated by money because there's a deep wound that would make the person feel like they're not worth anything unless they can provide for others and unless they have the money to take care of themselves. So I'm not lovable unless I have money, right? I have a very low self-esteem unless I can provide for others and give to other people. I'm not worthy of love unless I'm paying for it. That is Chiron in Taurus. And what is really interesting is that this Chiron is square Neo's Mars. So Neo's Chiron is square his Mars. Neo's Chiron is opposite Crystal's Venus. Okay? Emotional, psychological, and even physical pain influences Neo's sexual activity. So he may have sex when his feelings are hurt. He may have sex when he's bored. He may have sex when he's emotionally triggered. He may use sex to self-soothe, okay? And this is dangerous, again, because with Chiron involved, squaring Mars and Venus and opposing Uranus, this is like, your sexual behavior is going to bring you more than just emotional pain. You may get something that you cannot get rid of because Chiron also deals with things we have no control over. And I believe that Crystal's Pluto may be activating this. So Neo may be reckless with his sexual behavior, whatever, but Crystal's Pluto is conjunct his Venus, it is square his Mars, and it's opposing his Chiron. They have to be very careful and very transparent and protect themselves if they're messing with multiple partners. Because at some point, things may go all the way left. And then this Mars square Pluto will get activated. And if Mars square Pluto gets activated between these two, it is going to be World War III. Pluto is secrets and Mars is weaponization. I'm going to use your dirt against you to take you down. There's no compromise anymore, right? Once this deception and delusion and this fantasy of who I thought you were is gone, it's going to be World War III, bitter ass shit, okay? Neo's Neptune is square Crystal's Sun. There's mutual deception on both sides, right? Neo wanted to rescue Crystal, like Pretty Woman, okay? The escort who falls in love with her John and then they live happily ever after. He wanted to give her that fantasy and she wanted that fantasy herself. So they both played on each other's deceptions, but delusions and projections of what they wanted from their partner, right? So I'm going to project my desires onto you to the extent that I don't see myself clearly in this relationship and I don't see you clearly in this relationship either, right? I would not marry a man who frequently slept with prostitutes or sex workers or porn stars. I couldn't do it. But for Renee, because this was her lifestyle, she didn't see any red flags with that because she wanted to believe that, yes, I'm a sex worker, but this rich, powerful man wants to be with me. And in a sense he did, but why did he want to be with her? Why did he choose her? She didn't care about the whys. She was projecting her whys onto him, and he was projecting his whys onto her, right? They were projecting fantasies onto each other. But now that Neptune is retrograde and it's maturing, the relationship is now 8, 9, 10 years in, the fantasy and shit, that's a wrap. That whole renewal ceremony that they did, something probably came out before then that caused them to break up. And then Neo, with his air sun and earth moon, was able to manipulate her and convince her that his feelings for her were more real and more substantial than the facts on the ground. The facts on the ground are your husband's a sex addict with emotional issues. That's the facts on the ground. But Neo has convinced his wife that what she knows is not as relevant or significant or substantial as how he feels about her. That is an air sun, right? And an earth moon. I can make you feel what I'm feeling because I'm a great communicator. I'm a songwriter. Neo's an exceptional songwriter. He knows how to make people feel what he's feeling. He knows how to articulate his innermost feelings and thoughts, or what he thinks that other people would like to say. The reason why I say that is because the moon does not necessarily work well in Virgo. The moon analyzes feelings to the point where it doesn't know how to experience the feelings. So the moon would observe the feelings that they have before they actually immerse itself into it, right? So with Neo's moon squared Neptune, this is somebody who potentially acts the way that somebody else wants them to act. And I mentioned this before. This is a red flag for a narcissist. I'm going to tell you what you need to hear. Not because I'm going to tell you what you want to hear. Not because I actually believe this, but because I believe this is what I have to say to get you to stay. I am not sure if Crystal's going to leave at this point. I don't think that they've reached that Mars square Pluto point yet. I don't think she's ready to leave yet. I think that once Saturn enters Pisces, then we can have some conversations about her actually leaving. She's throwing out, smoke signals now because she's warning him. There's a bunch of mess happening behind the scenes that's really messy. I think these two are both really messy. I think she puts up with a lot of stuff. I think she's very open to his sexual desires. She's very receptive to him in that way. Okay? She's okay with his freak flag. It's, they're compatible in that way. She may even participate and indulge with him in certain things. So that is why they've stuck together for so long as well. Because again, his desire for freedom meshes well with her desire for love. So this is like really, they have a great sexual relationship. Or at least they used to. I don't know if they do now. But they have great sexual chemistry. amazing sexual chemistry. I think that is why Neo also married her, because they have a great sexual synergy together, right? Their love language and their sex language is very similar. But when you're dealing with a narcissistic sex addict, it don't matter how cute you are, don't matter how light your skin is, doesn't matter how much of a preference you are, you're not going to be enough. You're not going to be enough for somebody who has a sex addiction problem, who doesn't have a connection with their feelings because they don't have a connection with their mother. And so now feelings and emotions and love is performative. I'm supposed to act like I love you because you're my mother, but you didn't raise me well. I'm supposed to act like I love you because you're my wife, but I met you on the streets. I met you on a stroll. I can't really respect you the way that a man who really loves a woman would because you're beneath me. That is also Mars square Venus. I married you because I can dominate you with my status. You wouldn't be nothing without me. You need me, right? You ain't going nowhere. I'm going to pick somebody who needs me as opposed to a Miss Independent woman. His wife may be independent in the sense that she may be sexually independent, but as far as emotionally independent or financially independent, absolutely not. Neo would not tolerate this, especially with his Chiron being a Taurus. I know several Chiron and Taurus individuals, and they insist on working themselves half to death because there's insecurities about their value if they don't have any money. If I don't have anything to give you, then I ain't worth shit because that's how I was raised, right? I was raised in an environment that, where I was really, really poor and nobody had anything. And then as soon as I started making money, people started to take care of me and love me more and show me more appreciation. So I realized that, if I have money, then people will actually care about me and love me, right? That is an expression of Chiron and Taurus also. There are many different ways of analyzing this. Again, I don't have the house placements from the ascendant. I'm just using the sun as the ascendant in this case. Oh, and I forgot to mention that Chiron in the 8th house can sometimes indicate sexual abuse and issues with self-esteem and self-worth because of sexual abuse and molestation. I don't know if Neo has gone through this, but I wouldn't be surprised if he did. So I'm going to go through this really quickly just to make sure I cover all the bases. Neo's Mercury is conjunct his wife's Venus, so he knows how to communicate with her in a way that makes her feel loved and validated. Okay, especially when he talks about money and how much she means to him and how much she's worth to him financially. How much he spent on her. He spends a lot of money on her to make her feel valuable. And I think money and love are very important to her. There is no romance without finance, especially since she also has Mars in Capricorn, which is her 5th house. Capricorn is money, paper, status, stability. She's attracted to a man with status, with money, with paper, right? That is her 5th house of romance and relationships. She wants to be in a relationship with somebody who can provide for her. And this is what is going to keep her with Neo until this Mars squares Pluto situation. I wouldn't be surprised if next year the other stuff starts hitting the fan. It's starting to hit the fan a little bit now because Saturn is opposing or squaring their Venus and the Mars situation. But once Saturn enters Pisces, which is her 7th house, right, from her sun, and Neptune's going to be in Pisces until 2025, I think that's when things will start to fall apart, if they're going to fall apart, and this Mars square Pluto situation will get activated. It's being activated a little bit now. It is because Mars is currently in Taurus square Neo's Venus. If he's being messy now, he's really silly. Saturn is currently opposing his Mars, right? Square his Venus and square his Uranus. There are long-term implications of being foolish sexually at this time. And since Crystal has Virgo as a sun, her 6th house from Virgo is Aquarius, where Saturn is. 6th house is the house of health. A Saturn transit into the 6th house can bring about or activate or trigger a long-term illness, okay? So she has to be very careful, especially if there's Saturn in the 6th square Mars and Venus. It would be really silly for her to have unprotected sex with Neo at this time, period. All right, guys, I'm going to leave it there. The site is halfway up and functioning, so it works. You can order your reports. I'm still working on some design elements and some features that I'm adding to the site. Again, and this happened in June, the hosting server for the new provider I signed on to, they're having issues with their systems too. This is really crazy, but not surprising because, for my solar return chart, I have Saturn squaring my 1st, 4th, 7th, and 10th houses. So it is what it is. I'm just going to buckle down and do what I do. But this is crazy. If you want to order an astrology reading or a tarot reading, go to mindoflilith.com, follow the instructions for submitting payment, fill out the order entry form, and I will get back to you within 24 to 48 hours to confirm your order. I look forward to reading your comments. Please like, share, and subscribe, and I will speak to you soon.